Welcome to the Healthy Perspective Podcast with your host, chiropractor, entrepreneur, mentor, and author, Dr. Chris Bowman. He'll break down and extract the secret sauce behind his own success and the success of some of the top leaders in every category and from around the world. Get ready for your weekly mental adjustment because shift is going to happen.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Healthy Perspective Podcast. Today is going to be a powerful episode, and you're going to wonder if it's me talking or my friend Jevon talking because we talk the same language, learning more about his book, learning more about Jevon. Man, we think along the same track. So I think this is going to be a fast-paced, super valuable podcast for you guys. Jevon is a mindset and perception coach, vulnerability advocate, and author of the book Own Your Own Kingdom. He's a keynote speaker and a U.S. Army veteran whose goal is to help high achievers design a life they don't need a vacation from. Jevon, thank you so much for joining me.
Chris, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. Yes, I love how you said that. Speaking of the same mind, all about raising that mindset and just increasing your potential. So I'm excited about this conversation.
Awesome. Well, why don't you just kind of give us a peek and, Jevon, years ago, what kind of got you into mindset coaching? I know you've been through your own struggles with depression, PTSD, assuming from the military, and maybe some other life things. So kind of, why don't you help people understand who you were before? And then maybe that'll kind of set the conversation for if somebody is struggling with that stuff right now, one, how mindset coaching can help you, but maybe just some practical tips too on things that you learned along the way that, can possibly change people's lives.
Sure. First and foremost, thanks for having me on, man. I'm excited to be here. And so I'll start at 17. At the age of 17, I was facing 7 years in prison for an assault and robbery charge, going down the wrong path. And my mindset was one of scarcity and lack, right? I didn't understand that I actually had the power to create things in my life. I thought I had to wait for opportunities. I thought people had to hand me things. I just had this whole doubt about myself, right? I struggled with confidence, growing up in an impoverished society, in an environment where there was nothing but really pain, death, people just strung out on drugs, all types of stuff. And it was really an environment that was, just a disparate environment. So going through that, I thought there was two things, either dead or in jail. Those were my two options because I didn't have any money. And I thought money was the ultimate resource that you needed in order to have a shot at living a life. I hadn't known anyone who made it out of my environment and became successful, right, by the definition of that. So I ended up, taking a fast track to jail, right? I had that charge. And when I got there, what really changed me and really made me think twice about the life that I was living and the path that I was on was seeing my mother and my sister come and visit me. That the pain that I had actually caused them and seeing on their faces jolted me to wake because I had never seen them like that. They was really why I even lived in the first place, from my opinion. Didn't really value myself, so my family was all I had. And, here I was hurting them. They were a big piece of who I was in my heart. And so I went to my cell that same night that they visited me, and I got down on my knees and I just prayed to God, like, show me what I'm supposed to do. Get me out of this situation. I'm facing 7 years, 17. I didn't really understand the gravity of that, but I knew that 7 years that I had away from my family. Right? So I was just like, God, get me out and I'll become the servant that I should be. I don't know what that looks like, but I know I need to make some changes.
Got to be better than prison.
Got to be better than prison, and definitely better than ending up dead. So, by the grace of God, 2 weeks later, I got out. Right, the prosecutors dropped the case, and that was really my wake up call. And from that point, I really became intentional about how I spent my time, where I put my energy. I was no longer putting it in the streets. I started spending it on educating, which is how I ended up finally writing this book, right? I understood the power of education, and it made me realize, like, that is truly the definition of not having an option, right? When you're in a system, that it's out of your control. So understanding that, when I finally got out, I realized, hey, I actually have some freedom here. I can actually change the way I'm doing things, and I can change the way I perceive things, and that will make a world of a difference. Because I had a dream while I was in there, in that cell, and in that dream, I was free, literally like walking around, doing what I wanted to do. I seen success in my mind. That was the first time I seen that. The first time I experienced what success felt like. I was happy. The first time I truly felt that. And that made me realize the power of the mind. I said, wow, if I could do this, if I could just create something and, feel that way, then maybe if I go about life that way, then I'll be better, right? Things will start happening for me. So that was, fast forward a couple of years, I went into the military at the age of 22. And that was after me working two full-time jobs for like 4 years. And I just felt like I wasn't really getting to where I wanted to go. But again, I knew I could create something. And I didn't have just two options of the pine box or the jail cell. So the military really was another turning point for me. The military opened me up to the diversity of thinking, seeing other people, and opening myself up to talking to people I normally wouldn't have talked to, being in rooms I normally wouldn't have gone in, getting more comfortable with believing in myself and who I was, right? So that really created this paradigm shift where I said, man, the military is putting me in charge of these things, millions of dollars of equipment. If they believe in me, why don't I believe in me, right? And that was another thing. Like, I have to be more confident with what I know, the information I have, that I've done what it takes to prepare. So all these things just made me who I am today. And learning all this and understanding how hard it is to really implement all of this, that made me want to coach people. That made me want to help people design a life they don't need a vacation from, and create that mindset and perception shift and allow people to start experiencing joy. Because so many of us are just going through life, going through the motions, not really remembering that life isn't supposed to be all about struggle. You're supposed to have some joy in your life. It can't be just about checking boxes, then going to sleep and waking up and doing the same thing, right? So that's how I came to form Live Not Low.
I love that, and I don't get to talk about it too much on the podcast, especially when there's people I don't really know super well, but I love it when my guests bring in faith and talk about God, because that's what I'm living my life for, but we have this unfair advantage of the Holy Spirit in our life, and it just like flips the switch. Like the second the Holy Spirit comes into your life, it's like, oh, you're released from jail. Oh, okay, now go live it. And it's not this, okay, now go live a peaceful, quiet life, pay taxes, pay the bills and go home. And it's actually funny. My pastor's been going through this past couple of weeks, sermons on creativity and vision casting. And I'm like, Christians are waking up, because they're why we live as a Christian, a reflection of God. Right? Like we were created in his image. The first thing that he was a creator. He created everything. Yet Christians lack creativity. Christians lack that expression of God. And so I love it when I get to talk with people like you, where it's like, hey, it's not everything is like what tunnel vision. Step outside of yourself and look outside of your I don't know, your struggle and what you need, that scarcity mindset. Stop hoarding everything to yourself. And I don't know what the perception shift is, for you, but for me, it was that shift from here's everything that I need to succeed, shifted to now here's the value that I can provide to everyone around you.
Exactly, Chris. You hit it right in the head. Understanding, like I said, going through that journey, like the adversity is not always for us, right? We learn from it, right? And knowledge isn't power, it's applied knowledge that's power. And in order to truly apply it, right, you teach, right? Teaching is a true form of learning, right? Because you understand how to explain it at the basic level, at the foundation, at its essence. So I love what you're saying. And I'm a big proponent of compassion. I feel like compassion is really the key to having that joy in your life and experience it at a higher level, because like you said, we are formed in God's image. And when you talk about that, it's that compassion, it's that love, right? It's not just tolerance, but actual, truly love and understanding. and accepting difference and accepting change, because that's how innovation and that's how elevation truly occurs. Right? We have to transcend ourselves and really see other perspectives so that we can be open to learning and open to growing in ways that we never even thought were possible.
Yeah, that's so good. And talking with entrepreneurs and people like you, mindset coaches, that's almost always what it comes down to. Like, love others, pour out, give. That's what the abundance mindset is I have more than enough, and I always will, especially with faith. God promises to always provide. So why hoard when we can just give away? How do you coach people through that? Somebody maybe similar to yourself that is struggling with, anxiety, that is struggling with depression, that is struggling with, this scarcity mindset that they grew up in, maybe a similar upbringing as you, a rough neighborhood with, not many role models and really, kind of having your choices made out for you, the pine or the steel,
Yes.
How do you coach somebody through that?
So for me, my first thing in my program is forgiving yourself. Right. And that's for anyone, because we have to start from the basis of, not putting the onus on you all the time. Like, you don't know what you didn't know. Right. And things happen. That's the past. Right. You can't stay there. We address it. We understand it. We process it. But we have to move forward, because my job is to get you from where you are to where you want to be. So that's another thing. When you think about what a lot of people struggle with, it's goal setting.
Yeah.
We are purpose-driven individuals. Like, that's what humans are. So if you are setting the wrong goals, going down the wrong path, or you have no path at all, and you don't feel like you have a purpose or a reason why, that's when we get into trouble, right? We start running around aimlessly. We start living other people's definition of success, going for other people's goals. So I make sure that everything, one, we align values. So many of us don't really know what we value, right? We say something matters, but when it comes down to truly looking at it, we don't know. We're like, okay, we value time with our family, but then when you do the Wheel of Life or another exercise I give them, like, oftentimes it's something completely different. Maybe charity is actually more important, right? Or community. So really identifying who a person is at their essence, at their core, is the first thing. And then from that, now we can move over the doubt and find out why, that was the case in the first place. Why are they doubting themselves? Why do they feel like they can't change things? Why do they feel like they don't deserve things? Right? Getting to the root cause of all these things is very important for each person. So that's what I like to start with before we move into just pushing someone forward and pushing them towards something. Because if you don't feel like you have the resources, we have to fill you up, like we were talking about. You have to come from a place of overflow and abundance. And that mindset is not easy, right? It's not an easy change. So you have to really build it up, and there's steps and phases along the way. So I always say that the first phase is self-mastery, right? The first thing you have to do is start regulating yourself, start controlling your emotions, start learning how to communicate effectively, start being vulnerable enough to share your feelings and what you're going through with a support system, identifying who those people are, right? All these things that a lot of us, are told are not really healthy or what we should do, their weaknesses and all this other stuff, actually go against the grain, because I understand, coming from my path and my journey, that's what helped me. So I look at people, and that usually is the thing. It's a fear of the unknown, and it's a fear of someone taking advantage of you, and it's a fear of failure. So I change all those things and really flip it on its head to say, okay, it's not fear, it's excitement, right? Because that's what life is, right? It's the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen. If we did, life would be boring, right? So we go ahead and change that and cause that paradigm shift, like you said, from that scarcity mindset or a feeling of lack to an abundance mindset and feeling of growth, right? If it doesn't go the way you want it to, failure is a part of success, right? We learn from that, and then we apply it and we adjust as needed. So it's all those things.
That's so good. I'm hearing kind of two common things as you talk, helping somebody switch that mindset. Because if you're down in the dumps, I mean, this shift seems so massive, And
Yes.
I think there's some, especially maybe more like counseling, not necessarily like mindset coaches, that more so live in the past. Let's discover everything about what got you there, never really talking about, well, how do you want to define your future? So it's this delicate balance of, you have one eye on the rear view mirror, so taking care of your baggage, but then always looking to where you're going, not letting that baggage define you, but always having somewhere to go, which is kind of wrapped in this overarching theme of living intentionally. And I think that's what so many people just kind of forget. I just talked with a patient earlier today. Her husband, I don't know if she listened to this podcast or not, but I won't mention her name. Her husband has to get up at 1 a.m, leave to work to get to San Diego by 3. He's home by 3:30 or 4, but then is in bed at 6 or 6:30 in the afternoon or in the evening to then recover. So that way he's got 2 young kids, and it's like, how long are you going to keep he's doing it? It's providing for his family to, live a lifestyle that they, aren't wondering where their next meal is going to come from. He's worried about losing like medical benefits or union retirement, so he's still worried about things that might come in the future, rather than living in what he's at, right now. I'm sure you talk to a lot of people like this, where it's like, I'm burned out, whether it's a CEO that started their own business or an employee that is in that scenario where they have a long commute to work. They're making just enough to keep them satisfied, never really happy. How do you kind of dissect whether these people should I don't know, how do you guide those people? Because there's some where it's like staying in your job is the best thing for now, but here's how you switch your mindset so you're happy. And there's some where it's like, yeah, you're not meant to be a W-2 employee. Like you're meant to run your own company. How can you kind of give advice for somebody that might be on the fence? Like, do I quit and do my own thing? Do I stay here for a little bit longer? How do you kind of guide people through that transition phase?
Yeah, that's a great question, man. And one of the first things I like to do with my clients is look at their calendars, right? How are they owning their time? Yeah. Are they sitting there? Are they always playing catch up with their day? Are they always rushing to get to one thing to another and they're just, spinning their wheels? Are they spending time on tasks that really don't move the needle? It just feels good to check a box, right? So all these things I ask first, are they organized, right? Or are they like always scrambling to look for what they need next? So it's really about, I slow them down first, right? And have them plan out what's important to them. Right. Again, we've done the planning, we've done the goal setting, all that. But how are we going to get there? Right. We really have to be intentional. There goes that word again about how we're putting our energy, how we're spending it. Right. If I'm waking up at 3 and then I got to work until this time, and when I get home, I'll go right to bed. Then I'm not creating a space, right, where I can have that self-care and enough energy to do what I really love to do. So I make sure that that's built into their schedule, right? It's a non-negotiable. You have to have self-care because you need to replenish. You cannot pour into anything when you're empty too. It's only so long that you can run on E before the car stops, right? And God or something else is going to come and tell you, hey, slow down, chill out. Right? You have health issues and all this stuff because so much is caused by stress. We only get one life and one body. So I really slow them down and focus on time management, energy management, organization is a big thing. So if they know they go to the gym at a certain time, I make it so they're planning that before, plan it ahead. Create your, get your workout stuff ready so you can just get up and go and it flows. I want life to flow with ease. Right. So we want to plan all of that stuff out. That saves you time. And it's really about that. That saves you time to educate yourself. Maybe you have a commute. Maybe you can listen to Audible podcasts such as this. So we really, we work with that. What's your schedule and where can we find time and take back some of that time so you can make sure the things that truly matter, your family, your health, your sanity and all these other things are put into place, because that job, although it feels like it's necessary, you're not going to be able to work it if you're unhealthy, right? If something happens to you. So we have to think about that. Right. And really, and a lot of times, these situations, we make it out to be something that it doesn't need to be, right? I've had clients who never asked if they could switch schedules or do flex scheduling or work from home a couple of days. So I always ask them, like, have you tried to see if you could do something about your schedule or something like that? And they're like, I never even thought about it. right? So sometimes that's the easiest thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can't catastrophize things that don't need to be that. Sometimes it's as simple as saying and opening your mouth to ask a question or say what you feel. Right. So those are some of the things.
Yeah. And just to add like I don't know, a tidbit to that, I think I've heard a lot of, my clients and people that are, we have this conversation, they get all like worked up and yeah, I do deserve my own space. I do, all this stuff. And then they go to their boss and saying, so I need to have this off this time that I need,
right.
And as an employer of other people, if I have an employee coming to me saying I need, it's like, you work for me. It's not about what you need. It's like what's going to make us success in obviously a compassionate, way. But if an employee goes up to a boss, like if I had an employee come up to me and say, Chris, this schedule is breaking me down. Like I don't have much left in the tank. I love working for you. I love this job. It's why I've been here for so long. Can we work together to find a way where I could provide the same or more level of value with a different schedule? So I'm here to serve you, not in like not a bad way, but like I recognize you are my employer and I don't set the rules, but the schedule that I have going right now isn't allowing me to be proactive. And if it's a boss that really cares about you, they're gonna find some way. I would be like, let's figure this out. Like what things can we delegate? What things can we do? But if it's a boss that's like, nope, take it or leave it, they don't care about you, and that's your exit.
That's your cue. Yeah,
I'm gonna find somebody that is gonna be investing in me in the same way that I'm investing to them. But that's just adopting the abundance mindset, right? It's not about what you need. It's about here's what I can do to continue to be productive for you.
Right.
You're gonna get the same.
It's got to be mutual. It's got to be mutual. Yeah, that's key. And a lot of people are afraid to do that because they're afraid to lose that job.
Right.
Like you said, oftentimes that's your cue because it sucks, but so many of us, we get comfortable with knowing how bad it is, right? And when you get comfortable with that, you're like, okay, I know that this job sucks. I know that, they mistreat me. I know these things, but at least I have this job. So we got to get out of that thinking, right? There's so many positions that need to be filled right now. And you have the skill set, you got that job for some reason, right? We have to start believing in ourselves to take those chances and take that shot, right?
Yeah.
And if you feel as though that employer will do that, that's, like you said, that's not the right employer for you. So we got to create that strategy, that exit strategy to move forward and take on the next chapter of your life. So there's, that feedback and that information that we're given from that, we can utilize that and leverage that to create that action plan for success.
Yeah. Awesome. I've loved this conversation, Jevon. I think we could probably talk for an hour, to be honest with you.
Easily.
Where can people find more about you? Where can people get your book? If you have programs available and people are interested in working with you, they know they need a mindset shift. Why don't you go ahead and give them all that info?
Sure. So one of the best ways you can find me is on Instagram or Facebook. Just search Live Not Loathe. And then you can also go to my website, livenotloathe.com. That's LIVENOTLOATHE.com. And you can find my book there. I have a store on the website. All my programs are listed there. And I'm actually doing something special right now. I'm giving away free 1-hour coaching sessions. And all you have to do is go to that website and you can just connect on the newsletter and you'll see it. You just click the link to book it and we'll talk.
I highly encourage you to book a call with Jevon. Fill that schedule up. Make it so he has to say, I'm booked out a month. Sorry.
Yes. There you go.
I believe he can help you. It's not just because he has a book and those sort of things, but he's lived it. He's faced failure, utter failure, and nothing in the face and overcame it, and without role models or anyone to really look to. And so if there's anyone that you can learn from, I think Jevon is someone that can get you there. So Jevon, you've been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for jumping on, and I look forward to connecting in the future.
My pleasure, Chris. Let's do it. Thank you once again, man. And I love the work you're doing. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Perspective Podcast. To connect with Dr. Bowman, follow him on Instagram @Dr. Chris Bowman. Until next time, make shift happen.